Alright, so here's the car as I kind of getting back started on it, and you can see the chain's still on here from the engine hoist when I dropped it down in here. I was having a hard time getting the bell housing to just quite line up right and everything, but I thought I was going to have to make an extension for the lift, but I got this out. We used some blocks of wood and stuff. You can see them sitting here to kind of prop things up and jack the engine up, and I got them to pop together perfect, got some bolts in it, and I was off to the races at that point. I started just getting the exhaust manifold bolted up here and put on, and then I got the intake manifold sitting in there, got these little rubber hoses ran. Getting these around there and getting that manifold down is a fun little job, let me tell you. Then when I got my AC compressor up here and got this bolted, I had to tear this kind of back off because this little bolt right here with the threads on it is supposed to go on that side. And that was the way this project went. Put parts on, tear stuff back off, put things in the right place, reroute that hose a different way. And, you know, I took this thing back and apart and everything like 30 times. Some more you can see here, I've got the alternator sitting in here and just getting things on. I've started to run some of my injector wires over here and getting them ready and just figuring out where things route and go. Again, it had been 2 years or so since I pulled this engine out. And here I am just still getting things routed. Here you can see I've gotten the fuel rail moved over. I got the fuel lines routed, and all this injectors are plugged in. I'm starting to get some of these vacuum lines, different connectors, and figuring out where everything routes and goes. And then I'm just here, I guess I'm just still hooking stuff up. I've got the throttle body sitting on here. Oh, and this is the point where I figured out I had to take apart a bunch of stuff that I'd already put together here. I had to take this little coolant housing right here back off, and the power steering pump back off. I had them on at one point so that this little steel line that runs clear back here around back behind the engine actually feeds the brake booster. It's vacuum. And here you can see I just got the bolts kind of sitting in the throttle body, still figuring out everything. And here's where I had some of this starter wiring ran all wrong under here, and I had to kind of take this all back apart, these ground wires off, and get this all rerouted the way it goes. And that just took me a couple hours of fighting with it because the intake manifold and everything was already on at that point. But here I've kind of got the stuff kind of test fitted, how it's going to go and route and where things are running. And I got the air cleaner box in. So I'm kind of just, you know, getting the final stuff done. Here you can see is another shot of that everything test fitted. This cable here was still in the wrong place. This actually runs around and clips on one of the power steering pump bolts here. And this little rubber grommet does. It should run around the back of the car, which meant I had to take this throttle and cruise control and everything back off and untangle all that mess. And then I had to get this coolant line. There's this one weird coolant line that runs into the side of this plastic housing down here. So here is where one of the there's this coolant line that runs. It comes into the side of this plastic coolant housing and runs around behind the engine, and it has a bracket that goes onto one of the exhaust manifold studs. So I had to take this cover off, and just fun times. But we'll go ahead and go to where I finally got everything together, and we're getting it ready to kind of do the final startup. All right, let's see if she'll fire up here. Sounds like that AC compressor clutch is making some noise. Let's make sure it's something on that serpentine belt before we go any farther. It's making all that noise over there. Alright, now I get that serpentine belt up. We're going to start it up and see if the noise goes away. That sounds good. Touch of an exhaust leak. I'm going to have to replace that donut gasket. I didn't replace it on the downpipe because I'm getting ready to do the converter and downpipe on it. AC compressor clutch is what's making the noise. That's no problem. I was going to replace that AC compressor anyway because it's leaking Freon, so I just wanted to make sure it ran first. I'm running out of battery. I'm going to have to let it charge. I'm not running an alternator right now. I looked down and saw the battery charger start drawing full amperage there when it was drawing like 2.5. So that means it's battery spanked and the alternator's not turning with the belt off. Alright, so it runs. It runs pretty darn good actually. It had a little bit of a misfire when I first started it up. But it's straightened out pretty quick. That AC compressor needs replaced. It's really grinding in that clutch assembly, but the shaft seal is leaking on it, so I was going to replace that anyway. I just wanted to see if this thing would run before I went to any more expense. So it runs good, so I'll get the AC compressor, get that replaced, then we can let this thing come up to temperature, cycle a few times, see how it runs. Started misfiring there at the end, and that was the battery getting low because I'm not running the alternator with the belt off. That battery's pretty spanked. I'm going to let it charge up overnight. Yeah, I'm actually real happy. You know, this little 6 amp battery charger is going to take a while. I don't think keep up with the thing running, but I'm real happy that it runs good. You know, this thing was built with cheapest Chinese parts I could find on eBay. You know, all the piston rings, bearings, the gasket set, head bolts, everything cheap eBay. From China. I will have to sit down and go back through all of my receipts, and I'll add this up and tell you what this project cost when I'm done. But it wasn't really all that much. We're talking $400 or $500 in machine working parts at the tops. So we'll see if it holds up over time. It's cheap Chinese parts, but you know, good old-fashioned American machine work from a great machinist, probably the best one around me. So, and the engine was not in too bad a shape, right? They only had to polish the crank. The cylinders only had to be bored. So, just a bad ring on a piston, and it lost compression on the one cylinder. So, hopefully this will be good to go. This is going to just become our spare car if we need it, and then the Hyundai is going to my son. So we're gonna get this thing, get everything ironed out with it, get it all washed, cleaned up inside and out, and we'll have an extra car to drive. So I'm happy. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later. Let me know what you think. Am I crazy for doing all this work on a freaking 2.4 liter LD9? Not the most well, you know, not the most popular engine, right? Not really. Is it more reliable than the new Ecotechs? Maybe. I don't know. But I'll tell you, I know these things like the back of my hand now. I can tear one of these apart, no problem. So, unfortunately, they don't come in any newer cars, but hey. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later. I'm excited, but I'm hot. I'm going to get this fan turned back on and just relax and have a cold one. I'll talk to y'all later.